Camille Prosperity. Um, Let me see here because YouTube's acting a little funny. Camille Prosperity out of somewhere in the boonies. All right, now I think I am good on my other phone. Yeah, and all right, so let me start over. What's going on, everyone? It's Camille Prosperity out of somewhere in the boonies in Georgia. On my way to pick up my little one. I hope y'all are having a great and prosperous day. Anyway, I just finished a social proof podcast, and David Shands was interviewing this guy who at the age of 30 owns 3 storage units, and he was talking about how he had quit his job with Pepsi, making like $55K a year. Well, he was making more than that by that time because he had been working there like 8 years. So he quit his job at Pepsi, and let me turn off the air because I think I have enough road noise. Quit his job at Pepsi, had a bunch of real estate, and then 2020 hit, so some of his tenants weren't paying, and he decided to sell off some of the properties because he needed the cash flow since they weren't paying anyway. And one of the stories was one of the tenants, he was like, I don't have a place to go. And he's like, I will pay you to leave. I don't have a place to go. I will pay you, I think he said $2,000 to leave. And the guy said, okay, fine. I'll take the money and leave. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that though? Somebody owing you money and you paying them. Ain't that about a, you know what? So the guy said, fine, I'll take the money and I'll leave on the condition that you take my stuff, and I just need you to put it in a storage unit for 90 days. That led, and guys, this is where sometimes you can find a blessing in the midst of your mess, right? So he took the stuff, put it in a storage unit, and then the light bulb went off. Dang, look at the storage unit. No. I messed it up. So he took the guy's stuff, went looking for a storage unit. He went looking for a storage unit. All of them were full. So a light bulb went off in his head. Hey, this is a booming business. I need to get into this. Now, this is in 2020. When the guy's 28 years old. Today, he's 30 years old. And now he has 3 storage units. He's like, this is so much better. I don't have to deal with noisy tenants, people complaining about noise, people not having their rent and the rent being like, a mortgage. I don't have to worry about. He said one of his units, when the people left, they were mad that they got evicted, so they trashed the bathrooms and the kitchens. As you guys know, that's the most expensive thing to repair. So he had to put $15,000 into that one unit before he could even rent it again. That's money that's just the cost of doing business. Nobody says, oh, it's not your fault. That's not how that works. And if the people didn't have the money, because some of y'all gonna say, well, why don't he just sue them? Well, if they didn't have the money for rent, you think they got $15,000? You can try to sue. But let me tell y'all something. Suing civilians is not like suing corporations. Okay? But anyway, and some of you may be wondering, why did you watch this interview? Are you going to get into storage units? No, I'm not. I watched the interview, at least not anytime soon, but I watched the interview because I feel like, first of all, Social Proof is a very good podcast that I enjoy watching. Even if the topic that the person is speaking on is something that I'm going to do or have ever had an interest in, I still listen because there are some things that are universal. There are some lessons that somebody, if they're successful in what they're doing, there's some lessons or some things that they can teach you that even though you're not going to use it for their business, you can use it for your business and your life. And that's what I found in this interview. So one of the things that he mentioned was, and this is so important, because last night I did a YouTube live, and we were on there for an hour and 15 minutes talking about first and second party states. What circuit court are you in based on the state that you live in? I answered one of the YouTube, one of my commenters' questions online, and I dissected my answer, and we discussed a lot. One of the things that came up though during that live is one of you, and I can't remember who it was, forgive me. Was it you, Zoe? I think it was Rebel Zoe, or his name is just sticking out. But I think it was Rebel Zoe who said, I'm scared of getting rich, or something to that effect. He said, I'm scared of getting rich. And regardless of whether it was him or not, There are many of you who are scared of getting rich. And I have that fear as well. So I'm not saying that in a condescending way. But oftentimes when you're scared of getting rich, it's either your past that's holding you back or your future, the future that you envision. If it's your past, it could be rooted in past failures. Maybe you had a business before and the business flopped. Maybe you had money before and you lost it all and had to rebuild, and that, like, again, that failure is plaguing you. Maybe you had a bad relationship. And when I mean relationship, it doesn't have to be romantic. It could be your spouse or your partner, but it could also be a mother, a father, other family members who said you're stupid, who said negative things about you, and their words replay in your mind so that you really have come to believe them. On somewhat of a level, now every time you make any mistake, you hear those words, right? So the fear that keeps you from making money could be your past, or it could be the future that you envision. And oftentimes in that future, what we envision is the stress associated with money. Everybody gonna want me to pay for them. Everybody gonna be asking me for a loan. Everybody's gonna hate me. That is a very, 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 very real thing, especially if everybody in your family is struggling. And so the person who commented on my YouTube last night, I totally get where you're coming from. And my answer last night was that, yeah, that is a legitimate fear, because many times you are the chosen one. You are the one who, while the rest of the family or the rest of your friends are partying, you're the one who's studying. You are the one who's up late at night on a Zoom, on a YouTube, trying to get information while other people are getting their beauty rest. You are the chosen one, and nobody will see that work. But when the fruit of the seeds that you have sown come to harvest, right? When you reap your harvest, then people will have their hand out. So while that is a legitimate fear, it still should not hold you back. Why? Because there are ways to mitigate that fear. And one of those ways was what I heard on this podcast. I started listening to it in the shower. Yep, I have a shower speaker. I'm going to put the Amazon affiliate link for it down below. But seriously, this is how serious I be about. Sometimes I listen to music, very, very rare. But oftentimes I'm listening to someone teach me something, because I don't have a lot of time, so I have to make use of the time that I have. So I started listening to this interview in the shower with my shower speaker, and he spoke about how and this is why I tune into people who are doing things even if I don't want to do them, because again, there's some lesson that I can still learn from them. If they're successful, trust me, there's something I can take from them. So he came up when David asked him, hey man, you're 30 years old, you're making all this money, you're doing so well, you got a mentorship, you got all this stuff going on. How do you deal with people asking you for money all the time, family members and stuff like that? And so the gentleman said, I want you guys to look up on YouTube, Social Proof, and dang it, I think it's number 132. Shoot. It was on there today. I'm gonna put the link down below on my YouTube. But it just was posted to the Social Proof channel like 5 hours ago on today, January 2nd. So the gentleman said that the way he deals with people asking him for money is he has, and this is for his family members and his friends, he has once a year something called a family legacy meeting. A family legacy meeting. And so what he said he does is that he gets together the whole entire family. He lets them know, hey, this is when the meeting is. There are some prerequisites to attending the meeting. And the first time, he said one of the prerequisites is that you have to have your credit file printed, open, and ready. Like if you're going to pull it up online, you got to have it open. It has to be easily accessible. And if you're not going to, if you're old school, then you print it out. Okay. Yeah, then you print it out. I'm sorry, my phone was telling me something. So when this family legacy meeting comes, what he does is basically prepare his family. He takes a look at their credit profile, tells them how to clean things up, because he's the chosen one, right? So he's the chosen one, but he's not putting the burden all on his shoulders. So stay with me. Now, this is how you prevent your family members and friends from asking you for money when you get rich. So at this family legacy meeting, what he does is he goes through their credit profile, because he's already educated himself on how to do this stuff, and he helps them clean their credit and subsequently apply for, create a LLC and then apply for business credit. Using that money, he gets them to pull the money off of the business credit that they've acquired, and then they help him fund the storage units. So when he needs $70K for a down payment, he's not going to the bank and hoping that they approve him. No, he's practicing group economics like so many other communities do. And this is a brown man, right? One of my brown brothers. But he's practicing group economics with his family and members and friends and getting them to fund these projects. What do they get in return? Of course, they get an equity stake based on the amount of money that they put in. So if he needs $70K and one of the family members puts in, $35K, now there's some other stuff that comes along with that, but you know what I'm saying? When he generates his revenues and he looks at the expenses, extrapolates that out, comes up with the actual profits, the net profits for the month, then that person has an equity stake in the profits. They're not just all his profits. So guess what? These people, these family members and friends, even though they haven't gone through the ringer like he has, the trials and tribulations and all the mentorships, and they haven't gone to all the conferences that he has gone to, he's going and getting that information from the source, from mentors, from people who know more than him, and he's bringing it back to the family, and he's educating his family members and friends, and giving them an opportunity to basically position themselves to get some of his money without it being a loan. And guess what? If you don't do this, you have no right to come to him and ask for money. Right? Isn't that good? You have no right. You have no reason to come and say, hey, cuz I see you making all this money, saw your YouTube interview, I need my phone bill. No. You don't attend the family meeting. So that I could position you so that you could never need money for your phone bill, your car note, your rent, whatever it is. Does that make sense? Hey, what's going on? I can't see the names. They're too peace and high. I can't see the names. It's too small. But does this make sense to y'all? Because I'm telling y'all, it's all in communication. And I thought that was so smart, because all too often, especially in brown communities, there's only one person who's going to make it out. And yes, the rest of the family will weigh you down, will make you feel guilty for your success. I'm not talking about my family. But I could relate to that young man, because I'm telling y'all, oftentimes people will want the reward, but they don't want to do the work. So the way that you can mitigate and make sure that you don't feel guilty for being successful or guilty for having money is you give your family an opportunity to come along. You put some parameters in place. One of those shows, is it 30 under 30? 40 under 40 or whatever. There was a show that used to come on and used to always talk about how athletes went through their money. They would get like these multi-million-dollar contracts, and then, a few years out the league, they're broke again. And it would talk about how many hands were in the pot. And yes, there were agents, there were publicists, there were so many people on their team. But guys, there were so many people in their families that were just draining their accounts. I can't see that. You said something like, I wish my family did that. Okay, I only saw that first line, but I'm telling you, this young man was, y'all go look it up. Social Proof, Ramel, I think the episode number is 132. And go to the 45-minute mark in the interview. And you can hear for yourself his concept of the family legacy meeting. Your family won't do this on their own, but what I'm telling you is you can put these parameters in place and make it a prerequisite, because once you take away their excuse for not having money, they don't have a right to come and ask you for a loan. Right? It's just like if you're in a relationship with a guy and he says, hey, listen, these are my deal breakers. cheating. You can't cheat on me. I'm not with that. And then you go and cheat. You don't have a right to get upset if he breaks up with you. That was his deal breaker. He set the parameters early on, right? So you can't act like you didn't know. It would be the same thing with, and I'm going to read your comment when I'm not driving, and I can, because you wrote a good bit, and I'm really curious to know what you said. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, but yeah, dang, yeah, I can't see it. But yeah, they don't have a right once you've already put the parameters in place to say this is what it is. I want you to think about how foolish that would be for you to say, hey fam, listen y'all, I've come up, I want to bring y'all along with me. I cannot pay for all 10, all 20, all 30 of us. So I'm going to put us all in position so that we can pay for ourselves. You may not be able to do everything and pay for everything that I did, but you don't have to, because I have the knowledge and I'm gonna flow it down to you. This is the fact. This is what's going to happen. And now when they come to you to ask for money, you can say, did you ever come to the family legacy meeting? Like, yeah, because if they did what you outlined, then they would have money, right? They would have money coming in from their equity share of the group, you know, the group investment that y'all made together. Does that make sense? And I'm here, and see, this is why it's so important to have mentors and to tap in and to make time for stuff that is important to you, because there are people who have come before you who are in positions that you desire to be, and they can give you the blueprint on how to deal with things, because you don't know if you've never been there before, right? I heard this same concept from my trading teacher, Terry Ijeoma. Excuse me. She started out only wanting to make $1 million in a year. Well, she started out only wanting to make what was it, $300 a day or something like that originally, to quit her job. Then her goal eventually grew to one year. She did that, and shortly after that, she made $1 million in a month, then $1 million in a week, and now she's having more than a handful of days that she's making $1 million in trading. And she does interviews about this. And she told us in the course. Again, this is why it's good to pay for mentors. They can put you up on game. How do you deal with that? When you're she was recently on GMA as a professional whatever reporter right after the TJ and Amy Robach scandal. Like, it was the first day that they weren't there. They were supposed to be there interviewing her, and they weren't. But Terry Ijeoma was recently on GMA. That's, you know, so she's not just doing YouTube interviews anymore. She's big time, right? So proud of her. But how do you explain it to your family when we're in a period of inflation headed to recession, and they probably can't pay their bills, and you're on GMA talking about how much money you make? Which she didn't talk about how much money she made. But you know, if you see your family member, okay, there's a speed trap ahead. You know, if you see your family member on Good Morning America, they're doing pretty good. And a few years ago, they were an assistant principal making $60K a year. You know, they're doing pretty good. So how do you deal with that? Here's what Terry did. She didn't have a name for it, like family legacy meeting, but she basically did the same exact thing. She said she started making more money. She got all her family together and had a meeting with them and explained to them, hey, listen, guys, you're going to see some things. You're going to see me in some places talking about the money that I'm making from trading, but I need you all to know that I have hired a team that has told me how to mitigate my taxes and my expenses and basically just keep everything flowing. And we have certain things in place. My money is not all liquid. I have established a company that pays me a salary, and that salary is based on my expenses. So she literally had to educate her family and say, hey, listen, I've structured my business for my tax. The person on my team, my tax advisor, has had me structure the business so that we calculated all my bills and all my expenses and everything that I need to do the things that I not only need, but I also want, I desire. I came up with the number for all the money I need, and we structured my business so that my salary pays out that amount. All of the other money is being reinvested into the business, and it's in other assets that I can't liquefy at a moment's notice. So I need y'all to understand that just because you see cousin, auntie, Terry on the big screen talking about this money, you can't then call me up and say you need your car note, because I can't get it. I don't have it. My company does. And she had to, and guess what? Terry has sold her own course to her family members. Like, that is something that she has done. She said, hey, listen, if you need money, sign up for my course. And like, this is not something that she's saying for clout. This is something that's for real. I was literally on a coaching call replay, and a woman called in. She was like, I'm 52 years old. The retirement age just got pushed back. I always wanted to know training, and I joined. And then at this, she was like, and by the way, I'm Terry's cousin. I was like, oh, shoot. Like, she's for real, for real. She really does charge her family. Like, if you want it bad enough, if you would pay a stranger for this information, why wouldn't you pay your family? So I just want to, I started the 30 under 30 talk on that show. I remember somebody who had money. They said they do not invest. They make their family members and friends go through the process just like anybody else who wants them to invest in them. He said, I don't let my family member come and say, hey, cuz, I need $10,000 to open a chicken wing spot. He said, no, I require a business plan. I have a team. And I let my family members and friends know, hey, if you want me to invest in you, you're going to have a legitimate idea that you researched, investigated. You're going to have to show proof of concept. You're going to have to show that you know the numbers. And you're not going to be presenting it to me. You're going to present it to me and my team of advisors. And see, that cut down on all that, hey, you'll invest in my food truck talk at the barbecue. That cut down on all of that. So I want you all to be thinking of that right now, because if you have a fear of making money, like I said, it's legitimate, but there are ways that you can mitigate it. And all we have to do is learn what we do not know. Learn how the others who have come before you, because like I said, if your family gets mad at you when you're giving them an opportunity to participate in your profits, to have a group, if you've presented a group economics type situation where all ships rise with the tide, and they just chose not to participate, and then they still come back to you and ask you for money, once you reject them or deny them, they can't get mad if they're reasonable. And if they're unreasonable, well, then that's on them. They need therapy. But these are things that you can do to ease your consciousness. And really, if you know, they make sense. A lot of business owners don't have a lot of money. The business has the money. There is a difference. Okay? So go watch that Social Proof episode. It was phenomenal. The guy's name is Ramel, 30 years old, owns 3 storage units. He loves it. And guess what? He lives in New York. None of the storage units are in New York. It's crazy. I think he said like Philadelphia, Arkansas, and something else. None of the storage units are in New York. So y'all, there's so much that can be done. There's ways of doing it, but we've really got to tune in. We've got to tap in with people that are doing the dang on thing. And maybe you take a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person. Oh, excuse me. And you massage the information to what works for you in the industry that you're going into. But the more you know, the more confidence you will have, right? The more sure about yourself you will feel. And that leads to action if you're the right type of person. Some people, it never does. They just like to have a whole bunch of information. But oftentimes, it will lead to action, because the more you tune in and tap into these people and you hear their solutions for certain things, it might not be exactly the same thing in your particular situation, but the more you hear their solutions, it dwindles away in all of the excuses you have been making. for why you can't do fill in the blank. All right? So that's all I got. I ain't got no more. If you like this video, I want you to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I for sure want to know, what are y'all thoughts about this? Okay? Did I help you? Did this conversation help you at all? It's a totally different conversation, though, when we're talking about what's holding you back from getting rich as it relates to the past, right? Trauma and drama, negative self-thoughts, self-doubt, low self-esteem. That's a different conversation. When your past is holding you back from getting rich, it's a totally different conversation than what your envisioned future is holding you back. But I hope that in some way, shape, or form, I helped you with thoughts of feeling like, oh, I don't want to tell my family no. I don't want my family to think I done got too big for my britches, or I forgot where I came from, and all this other stuff that we tell. We ain't doing that. We not gonna let fear of being rich keep us poor. That's a horrible trade-off. We're just gonna find ways in advance to navigate our landscape when we do become wealthy. How about that? How about that? All right, y'all. Talk to you later. Excuse me. Thank you for keeping me company on this first leg of the trip. Yeah, we'll talk later. Bye. I don't even know how to end it on YouTube. How I end it on YouTube, y'all? Is it this?